Yo, what's up guys, in this video I will go over the best vehicles in each class that you should use for races in GT Online. I will go over the best vehicles for both old and next gen. We will start with the bike category. The race bike is the best one. It's even faster than the electric mountain bike. For races you don't even have to buy the race bike because you can't even customize it. If you are doing a stunt race, use the BMX. That's because you can bunny up with a BMX. You can't do that with the race bike. For the utility class, the Settler is the best car to use. It has the highest top speed in this class and it's just the best car overall in this class. That's not because this car is so good, but there aren't any actual good cars in this class. Moving on to the vans, use the Gang Burrito or Rumble Custom. I personally prefer the Rumble Custom. I feel like it's a bit faster and it's easier to drive. Sometimes the Gang Burrito feels a little bit slow. There are only two go-karts, the Vado Classic and Vado Modern. The second one is by far the best, it's way faster. I recommend buying this one so you can customize it and then you have a huge advantage over players that are using the stock version. In the hot ring class there are three cars, the Everon, Hellfire and Sabre. The Everon has the best top speed in a straight line, so it really depends on the racetrack. Use the Hellfire for races that have a lot of turns and are short distance, and use the Everon for long distance races. For this class there are specific hot ring circuit races, so in those races I recommend using the Everon because of its top speed. In the compacts class you should use the Brioso RA with the HSW upgrade. If HSW is disabled in the race or if you're on old gen, use the BF Club. These are both good cars, however the BF Club is easier to drive in because it has better handling, but the HSW Brioso is better for long distance races. That's mainly because of the HSW upgrades, which makes this car a lot faster of course. So the only time I recommend picking the Brioso over the BF Club is when it's a long distance race. If HSW is disabled, of course use the BF Club, then it's the best car in this class. Now we will look at the Coupes class. Use the newly added X32 if you're on next gen with HSW upgrades. It outshines every car in this class, mainly because of its handling but also top speed. If you're on old gen or if HSW is turned off in the race, use the FR36 or Previon. Out of these two, I think I prefer the Previon. They are really close to each other in terms of performance, so it's up to you which one you choose. In the muscle class, the best cars are the Vigero CX/ZX Convertible, both with HSW upgrades. These are better for top speed on long tracks. Use the Buffalo CVX with HSW upgrades for short tracks. The handling of this car is a lot better, as well as the acceleration. If HSW is disabled or if you're on old gen, use the Dominator GT. It outperforms every car in the muscle class when HSW is off or if you're on old gen. It's actually so good that it's close to the HSW cars in this class. In the sedans class, the best cars are the Cinquemella and Reinhardt. These are insanely similar in terms of performance, so to be honest, just buy the one you prefer. I personally think the Reinhardt looks the best out of these two cars. This car has a pretty good handling and a decent top speed, at least good enough to be the best car in this class, and also this class does not have any HSW vehicles, at least not yet. In the SUV class we have the Karen Vivinite with HSW or the S-Tron Custom with HSW upgrades. They are both really competitive in races, however the HSW S-Tron has a higher top speed with worse handling. The HSW Vivinite has better handling with a lower top speed. So again, depending on what type of racetrack you're on, use the S-Tron for long tracks without a lot of turns and use the Vivinite for short tracks with high intense corners. That way it can show off its acceleration and handling. Now if you're on old gen or if HSW is disabled, buy the Castigator. This car got added recently. Moving on to the Sports Classic class, the Turismo Classic with HSW upgrades and the Sterling GT with HSW are the best cars. Unfortunately, the Sterling GT got removed from the in-game website, so keep that in mind. Your only chance to get this car if it's the podium vehicle in the casino or if it's up for sale at Luxury Autos or Simeon's car dealership. The Turismo Classic on the other hand is pretty cheap if you compare it to other cars in this list that have the HSW upgrades. They are both very similar in terms of performance, but since the Sterling GT got removed you have no other choice, unless you already owned it before it got removed. Now if HSW cars are disabled or if you're on old gen, use the Turismo Classic or Cheetah Classic. Same case here, they are similar cars, so just choose the car that you like more. Now in the off-road class we have the Monstrosity, and this is the only HSW car in this class. That makes it by far the best one to use for races. Nothing is close to it, it has good acceleration, top speed and it's nice to handle, even off-road, which of course makes sense. If HSW is turned off or if you're on old gen, use the Dragger or BF400. The BF400 is a motorcycle, but it's usable in the off-road class. It's cheap and insanely fast, especially if you keep pulling a wheelie. You do have to keep in mind that since it's a motorcycle, you can easily fall off your bike, either by crashing into something or if one of the other players runs into you. That part is only the case when it's a contact race, so if it's a non-contact race, I definitely recommend using this bike. The tuners class is more of a side class and you can use them in pursuit races and I guess also in drift races. So these cars are only from the tuners DLC from a couple years ago. These are the best cars in this class: the Sultan RS Classic, the Vector, Calcio GTF, this car has the highest top speed, and lastly the Jester RR. This one is also good for pursuit races. It again depends on what kind of track you're on, but if you have to choose one car out of these tuners cars, I definitely recommend the Calcio GTF, mainly because of its top speed. It's the best out of the tuner cars and it's just a great all-round car. Moving on to the most popular classes, first sports. The newly added Neope with HSW upgrades is the best car in this class and it also looks cool. This car has everything that you're looking for. It has really good acceleration, it has an amazing top speed, and this is one of the smoothest cars I've ever driven in GT Online. That has a lot to do with the great handling that this car has. This is pretty much a supercar in the sports class, so it's overpowered. From my personal racing experience, I also really like the GTO Stinger TT with HSW upgrades. It's not as good as the Neo, but it comes really close. If HSW is disabled or you're on old gen, use the Italy GTO, the regular Neope, Paragon S or Pariah. Those will be your best options. Out of those four, I always use the Italy GTO. Moving on to the supercar class, this is probably the most popular one. First of all, we have the Devastate 8 with HSW. This is my personal favorite car to use for races. Then we have the Weaponized Ignis, and you also can't go wrong with the Cyclone 2, both with HSW upgrades. It does depend what kind of racetrack you're on, but I always choose the Devastate 8. Although a lot of people use the Weaponized Ignis, I do think for corner intense races the Cyclone is the best. It also feels like the Devastate 8 is the strongest car in this class, so if you want to do a little bit of dirty racing, you can easily push the other cars off the road. If HSW cars are disabled or you're on old gen, use the Emorus, Krieger or Turismo Maggio. Once again, they are very similar, but in my opinion the Krieger is the best one because it's very easy to drive, it has great handling and traction. The Emorus is harder to drive. In the motorcycles class you have to use the Hakuchu track with HSW upgrades. This bike needs a second to accelerate, but once it picks up some speed it won't stop. I do have to say that it accelerates really well when you're coming out of a corner. If you're on old gen or if HSW is turned off, use the Power Surge. This is kind of a glitch bike, cause when you pull wheelies you will get insane bump speed boosts. Lastly, we have the open wheel class. At the moment we only have 4 open wheel cars in this class. Out of these 4, the BR8 is by far the best. I recently used it and it's so fun to drive in. It's great on any type of track, it's also the most expensive one in this class, so I guess it makes sense that it's the best open wheel car. Those were all the best vehicles to use in each class. Let me know which vehicles are your favorite, leave a like if you enjoyed it and I will catch you in the next one, bye bye.